Hello my lovelies, welcome back. It is Erin here, and today I'm setting up my very first ever reading journal, which is not something I really saw myself doing, but here we are. I'm gonna jump straight in and start setting up my cover spread because cover spreads are fun. Do we need them? No, absolutely not. Do we enjoy them? Yes, very much so. As always, there are links to everything I'm using in the description, so if you see anything that you like the look of, if I can link you to it, some of this stuff I can't link, but if I can link you to it, there will be a link down in the description, and I'll mention where everything is from later on too, but first, I just wanted to have a little chat about the why. Why am I making a reading journal now? I've always been really chill about my reading. I love reading, and I've always loved reading, and it's something I've kind of always done. But I remember watching Journal Away Anna's reading journal setup video at the beginning of this year and thinking that is so freaking cool, but it is not for me. And yet, here we are 10 months later, I'm setting up a reading journal and I'm really excited about it. So let's talk about that. So what changed? Well, a few things actually. Probably the most influential factor is Bookstagram. I got really into the Bookstagram community in the past year, and there are so many wonderful accounts sharing so many wonderful books, and I just realized how much there was out there that I was missing out on that I didn't know how to find until I found Bookstagram. So that's been a big factor in how much I want to read. And look, I don't see myself ever being one of those girlies who goes through and annotates the books. I just don't see myself having time for that. Maybe I'll highlight some sections, and I do read everything on Kindle, so it's not like that aesthetic, look at this annotated book kind of posted on my Instagram sort of thing for me. It's really just a way for me to keep track of the things I read so that when I find that I really love a book, I can remember what it was called and I can read it again in 5 years' time if I want to. And because of the Bookstagram influence, I have been reading a lot more the past couple of years than I have in the 10 years prior, so that's fantastic. I'm really happy about that. But it does mean there's more for me to lose track of, so somewhere to write it down is helpful. I have had a reading log in the beginning of my last 2 annual bullet journal setups that I've kept using throughout the year, so I have a record of them and I usually leave a rating there, but I don't really kind of take it past that. So the other factor is that I really want to do individual spreads, kind of just pretty aesthetic, fun, enjoyable things to do for fun when I really, really love a book and I just want to live in that world a little bit longer. You know how you can get a book hangover when you finish a really good book and you don't want to start a new one because you're not finished with the characters of the old one yet in your head. You sort of have to process. I feel like this is a really good way to do that, to put it in a journal and just kind of hang out with them for a bit longer. And also I have an abundance of notebooks, so why the heck not, right? Speaking of notebooks, shall we talk a little bit about the stuff that I'm using to set up my reading journal? So in my head, when I first conceived of this notion, I wanted it to be a dark academia kind of vibe because I was like, libraries, bookstores, slightly gothic. But then I thought about it and was like, Erin, you read romance novels. They are not slightly gothic in any kind of way. They're quite fluffy actually. So I've gone for something that's a little bit more me, which is pastel colors. I went for kind of blue, green, and purple for the most part with a tiny little pop of yellow. The journal I'm using is from String and Space. It's their Star Grid journal, and I'm very excited to try it out because 170 GSM pages sounds like fun. At the moment, I'm using letter stamps from Stationery Pal in tandem with my Artistro paint pens, which are brush tipped, which makes this really easy, this whole stamping process, on an old envelope, which has very nice paper. So I have run out of the cards that came with these envelopes, but I'm going to keep using the envelopes in my journal because upcycling. All of these pattern papers are origami paper that I picked up at my local Daiso. I can't really link to those, and I don't know if they still have them in stock because I've had these for a few years, but Daiso, great place for origami paper, which is great in your journal because it's very thin, it doesn't bulk up the pages. I highly recommend it. And of course a bunch of washi tapes from the Washi Tape Shop because they have the best stuff. I've used both of the Tenohira Sakura 2-piece set in this setup. I've also used a little bit of the light version of the Silver Dreamcatcher set, which is the one with the stars and moons at the top, a tiny little bit of the Violet Dreamland version set just under the reading journal heading here. All those tiny little floral and leafy stickers are from the Washi Tape Shop's Delicate Floral Wreaths set, which I always find really hard to pronounce for some reason. And also some stickers that I got on Wish and Shein. And I'm using some Tombow pens to add some little stars now that you can barely even see on camera, and I sort of wish I hadn't done this, but I did, so it's there now. Moving on to the actual functional spreads, of which there are not that many because this is my first reading journal and I don't really know what I'm gonna like using, what I'm gonna wanna take forward. There are only 3 months left of this year, and this is my reading journal for 2022, so this is kind of a test run. I just wanna see what feels good in the journal, what I like using, what I think I could improve. And then next year's reading journal will be like better, which is the beautiful thing about bullet journaling. You can improve it as you go and it feels good. So this is where I'm going to list out the title and the author of every book that I've read this year, and I'm doing that in a calendar layout. Do I really need the data on how many books I've read this year and when I read them? No, not really. And I also don't see myself being the kind of reader that will do a page at the end of the month that sums up how many pages or how many books I've read, or like an end of month wrap up or anything like that, but never say never. I didn't think I'd keep a book journal either, but here it is. I did keep a log of all of the books I've read this year so far, and I will continue to keep that in my first journal for this year. So I already have this information, but not kind of arranged by timeline. So I'm gonna have to go through my Kindle history to work out when I read things, which is fine, that's okay. I do all of my reading between my Kindle and audiobooks. I don't actually buy paper books anymore because I don't have anywhere to put them. And I know that probably sounds like sacrilege to some of you, but it works for me, so no hate, please. And if you want to see this all filled in, I am actually going to, once we finish setting up all of these pages, do a little before the pen flip through, and then I'm going to get in there and fill it out so you can see how I would use all of these pages, and also you can have a little sticky beak at what I've been reading this year, and we can have a nice chat in the comments about books, because I think that would be really fun. So if you like any of the books that I've liked, or if you have any recommendations, I would love to hear them. This is going to be a busy spread once it's full, because I've read a bit this year. So I'm keeping the decorations very minimal, with just a stamped heading at the top, says books completed, because that's what it is, and a little bit of washi tape, maybe a couple of tiny little stickers at the top, and that'll be it for this spread. Oh, also, talking about books, I do post a little bit about what I'm reading on my Instagram stories. I don't really do on my feed so much, but I might, now that I have a book journal that I will also want to share. So if you want to talk about books on Instagram and see what I'm reading, and maybe we can chat some more over there, that'd be awesome. My Instagram is @erinsmith.art. I will pop it up on the screen so you can see, and I think that would be really cool. Let's be friends on Instagram. Only 2 pages left for this setup. On the left side, I'm doing something, okay, if you follow my other bullet journal content, this is kind of like how I like to do my mood trackers, where you set up a cute kind of arty doodled design and you color in an element for each day, each mood or whatever, in this case for each book that I read. And at the end of the month, year, whatever time period your tracker is lasting for, you have a really pretty kind of artwork in your book that is also a representation of something that is important to you. So I just think it's a really nice way to track things. So of course, for a book journal, I'm doing books on a bookshelf, because what could be more obvious? I have seen a lot of people use this kind of setup for the purpose of my previous page, where they'll write down the title of each book that they read on the spines of the books. I don't know if you've noticed, but books lately have some pretty long titles. Like I just read The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Mandana, and I loved it. It was fantastic, but like I'm not gonna fit that on a little spine here. So I'm just gonna color mine in, because that's easier, and I already have a page tracking the names of all the books that I read. So, you know. I also thought it would be fun to incorporate some stuff that wasn't books, because there aren't that many of us who keep only books on a bookshelf. Actually, yeah, there probably are heaps of people who only keep books on a bookshelf, but I like to follow a lot of home renovation people on YouTube, and so they quite often don't even put books on their bookshelves. So I have some little elements. I don't really have a bookshelf like this in my house, because like I said, I read everything on my Kindle, but I've brought in some other elements from around my home. So I have a little side table in my entryway with 3 IKEA candlesticks on it that I spray painted gold. They're traditionally black. I've got those on a shelf. Don't worry, for purposes of this setup, I guess they're electric candles, because otherwise they would set the shelf above on fire. Safety first. I have a little devil's ivy plant, which I have named Laura. She hangs in my bedroom. My very favorite teacup, which is actually a Christmas cup that I got last year, but I like it. And then there's a little kitty down the bottom, that's Mitsu in his bed. Although I'm not colouring in his black and white spots, he's just come to model for me. You see how he's splotchy and black and white? I don't think I could do that justice on the page. So I just have a generic cat sleeping in a basket, but in my mind, and in your mind now too, because I'm telling you, we know it's the Mitsu. One last page, and I think this might be the most important, but also I'm calling it something weird. So I think we're all familiar, if we are in the reading circles of the internet, with the concept of a TBR or a to be read. I don't like that name. It feels like too much pressure. It's taking something that I do for fun and enjoyment and without any pressure and making it feel like it's something I have to do, and I'm not here for that. So I'm changing the name of mine a little bit. I'm going to put the title in the middle. I'm going to stamp it out because that's fun and easy. I'm calling mine Maybe Next? ? So like maybe this will be what I read next. And I'm not showing it in this part, but later on when I get in there and add all of the books that I have on my potentially maybe I'll read this next list, which is currently spread across my Instagram saved folders and a bunch of screenshots on my phone and like a notepad file on my phone as well. Too many places, which is why I need this page. I'm gonna divide it into categories, but you won't see that just yet. And one of my favorite tricks to decorate a page where you kind of don't know what to do with it is to take a thin washi tape and just line all the way around the outside of the page with it. And that's a really cute, very put together kind of way to make a page decorative without taking up too much page space, but also, I guess it's just the washi tape version of drawing a box around things, which we know I also love. So there you go. This washi tape's from Daiso. So here she is before the pen. This is Reading Journal 1.0, Erin's Reading Journal of 2022, which I guess I should put 2022 on that Reading Journal cover page at some point so that future me knows in case I forget. I guess I can always refer back to the YouTube channel. So let's now jump in and use it and see how it goes. This is my bullet journal from the beginning of the year with my current reading log. I'm up to 39 books for the year, so I think I can achieve that 50 books for the year goal. I think that's doable. And if you want to see what I've been reading this year, here you go. I'm going to write out every one. I have my reading log journal of my original one on the left side, and I have my Kindle information open on my computer over on my right. So I'm cross-checking to kind of get approximately when I read everything. Some of these are probably not quite exactly right, but it doesn't matter. I just wanted to shout out a few of my absolute favorite books for the year. So things that I absolutely loved reading. I loved reading Mad About You by Vari McFarlane. She is one of my absolute favorites. Of course, Mixed Signals by B.K. Borison. She's kind of the reason that this is all happening, actually. I've been following B.K. Borison on Instagram, and she posted on her stories that somebody had done a Mixed Signals bullet journal kind of art spread. And I was like, oh, I want to do that so bad for the individual books that I completely fall in love with and want to spend a bit more time in. So that's how we got here. I haven't done any of those for this video, but I might do some, but I feel like I'd have to reread the book to do it really well. Two that I listened to on audiobook that I absolutely loved were Book Lovers by Emily Henry and also The Comeback by Lily Chu, amazing. And I super loved The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston as well, fantastic. I'm gonna skip the 50 books goal page for the moment and jump straight to the Maybe Next page, and I've divided it into my categories. And here's where I'm really outing my two favorite Instagram book recommending people. I absolutely love Laura. Her account is the.bookish.b. Everything she recommends is gold. She has not led me astray. And the other is the wonderful Em Can Read. Same thing. Em has different taste to Laura, but they both have fantastic recommendations, and I trust them completely. And just about 80% of my book reading recommendations come from those two. So if you're not following them, what are you doing? Go follow them immediately. I will make sure their accounts are linked in the description as well to make that as easy as possible for you. And here's why I skipped the goal page with the 50 book illustration, and we're coming back to it now, is because I wanted to do it with watercolor. Partially because I thought it would be very pretty and I'm just enjoying watercolor right now, but also because this journal has such thick paper and I wanted to really test it out so that I can review it thoroughly for you guys in an upcoming video. So stay tuned for that if you want to see. I don't actually know much about watercolor, but it's fun and I'm enjoying it. So, you know, don't judge me if you know actually how to do it, because I'm just making this up as I go along here. And this page probably could have been really adorable if I'd stuck to the color scheme that I'd established throughout the rest of the book. But I was kind of too lazy for that, wasn't I? So instead, I didn't really want to mix up all the colors, so I'm just kind of using them straight out of the palette, like without mixing them together. I mix a few of them, but not many, so it's a bit of a hodgepodge, but and you know, every good bookshelf is, am I not correct? And in case you're curious about how the book held up, the watercolor went pretty well. It was kind of similar to the way it worked in my Archer and Olive book, so it did buckle the paper a little bit. You can't really see it. Oh, just gonna put something on my Instagram stories real quick. Hang on a sec. There we go. It did buckle the paper a little bit, not too severely, but I think you're always gonna get that if you're not using proper watercolor paper. And there was one book that I used way too much water on just by accident, and it did kind of seep through to the other side. I wouldn't say that it bled, but it's a little worse than ghosting too. If there's a level in between like bleeding and ghosting, that's what happened on just one book. So not too bad. I'm impressed with that. I think that's pretty good. So my thinking is that if I'm gonna do watercolor like this, I'll probably just jump in at the end of every month and color in a book if I keep this going into next year. Obviously, I'd already read 39 books, so I just worked out where the 39 point was on this and colored up to there, but otherwise markers would work too. And here is the flip through after the pen with all of the stuff filled in. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you want to talk books some more, let's do that in the comments or over on Instagram. I'd love to have you. And if you've enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and hit subscribe if you're new here, and I'd love to see you again soon. Bye!